Hey everybody, welcome back to EverTune TV. I am your host, Matt Blackett, and even though he right now is a man of mystery, I am pleased to be joined by Mr. Scotti Hill from the band Skid Row. So Scotti, I saw you before, and now I see you again. Welcome back. Man, thanks so much for being here.
It's good to be here, dude. It's good to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you and I have never met, but I feel like I know you because back in the 1900s, I taught guitar at the only Rivera amps dealer in Northern California. And we had this big Rivera amps poster up in the store with you and Snake on it. And so I feel like I kind of got to hang out with you every day.
We were watching over you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you. You kept me honest in those days.
What store was that?
It was a store called Music Works in El Cerrito. And I was the guy that brought the Rivera amp line in there because I'd met Paul. I desperately wanted one of those amps, which I did. I sold my boogie to get it. And I played it until I could no longer lift it, you know? And so that's the sad part of like, when you get old enough to know what a great sounding amp is, you can't carry it anymore, you know?
I know. You know, it's amazing. Thank goodness for the low wattage amps.
Yeah, precisely.
Become popular. You know, I'm a big fan of low wattage amps because I like to, you know, crank it in a small room here. So it's good. Nice. Rivera stuff is really good.
So let's get into this. Let's talk about your playing a bit. I've listened to your work a bunch over the years, and when I hear you deliver the big riff, I hear some AC/DC in there. I hear some Led Zeppelin in there. But you tell me, what is the kind of stuff that got you into it initially? And what do you think is kind of informing your playing?
Well, as most guys in our genre and our age, I was a big Kiss fan, so that kind of got me started in the direction of heavy music. But you mentioned AC/DC, probably my overall favorite band. I really like good grooves and stuff like that. But as far as like my actual playing, my biggest influence would be Jeff Beck, probably from like the Fusion years, the Blow by Blow and Wired and those years. And that's probably why I get called to do like more ballady kind of solos, like, you know, 18 in Life and I Remember You, or a couple of the notable ones. But yeah, I like long notes. And, you know, I mean, I play fast. I'm not really good at it, but, you know, I do it anyway. So, but yeah, Jeff Beck and of course, Eddie Van Halen, but the guys that make it, that play great melodies, Neil Schon, Steve Lukather, Brian May, you know, something else those guys have in common is they all have a really nice, wide, smooth vibrato, play melodies and themes, things like that. So that's where I'm coming from as far as like soloing and all that.
Right. And then from a rhythm guitar standpoint, you mentioned AC/DC. Are there other, and of course, all those guys that you mentioned are fabulous rhythm guitarists as well, right? They're just such great soloists that it sometimes gets overshadowed. But are there other rhythm players that had an impact on you when you're coming up?
Well, Eddie's rhythm playing is incredible. It was you know, a friend of mine said he was always in the pocket, and you know, Eddie was the most rounded, you get everything in one package guy, but his rhythm playing was really really amazing. Mm-hmm. And also Pete Townshend's tightness, he could really, you know, lock up you know, just really play shit tight and really grabs me. You know, you listen to those big chords at the end of Won't Get Fooled Again. Out, 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 ring. You know, he rakes that last, but he's playing those really tight and then rakes that last one. There's a video somewhere on YouTube. It's probably easy to find. I'm not sure what it was from, but it's just him solo with like a vintage Telecaster, and I think he's doing Magic Bus. And I mean, blew my mind when I saw it. I'm like, just the power of his rhythm playing was like a whole band. It's just so in the pocket and so on time.
Well, it's funny. He made a huge impact on me when I was first starting out because I loved Van Halen and I loved UFO, but I couldn't play that stuff. And even though I couldn't play Who songs like Pete Townshend, I at least knew the chords, right? He was playing the same chords I was. And so that was really inspiring. And then it was crazy to see him. I didn't see the Who for many, many years. And the only time I saw him was the last tour that Entwistle did. And he comes on stage playing a Strat, and I'm thinking, oh man, that's not what I want. I want the Les Paul with the numbers on it. I want, the Live at Leeds SG. He had one chord on that Strat, and he sounded exactly like Pete Townshend. And I'm going like, all right, you do you, Pete.
That is the telltale right there. If a guy picks up a guitar, any guitar, and sounds like him, that's what we all want.
Yep, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
All right, well, so let's get into some Skid Row stuff here. When Skid Row broke, you guys broke big, and you played on some massive stages to huge crowds.
Oh yeah.
And so, what are the challenges to getting your sound and being comfortable, staying in the groove when you're playing to a crowd of that size?
It's really it's flying by the seat of your pants. You can't hear what's going on. You have wedges on the floor, and now everybody uses ears, but we've got monitors on the floor and all that. But unless you're standing right in front of them, you're really kind of flying blind. So you play a stage that big, if you're playing a stadium or an arena or something, I don't want to stand in one place and stare at my feet. I like to give the people something to look at, something to feel excited about, and just let out the energy. So a lot of times, if you're out in front of the PA, I mean, it's so loud that it's just a basic noise coming out. So you're, like I said, you're playing blind. So occasionally, you got to do a solo out there, and then you're really just kind of feeling it and watching and trying to get it right. And through repetition, hopefully you do get it right. So and the energy has so much to do with it. You're feeding off of the crowd, they're feeding off of you. It's very exciting. So I'm pretty chill in everyday life, but up there it's a different story.
Well, it's interesting you've mentioned that, and in particular the solo aspect of it, because I just watched a video of your solo to I Remember You at Wembley from back in the day, and all the bends are in tune. The timing is so on with it, so you do not seem like you're flying by the seat of your pants at all. And so I guess my question would be, weren't you nervous? And like, how do you not overbend on those notes? I mean, like, will you talk me through that one?
Well, I probably had a sweet spot where I could hear what was going on. I've got a pretty good feel for I've been using the same gauge strings forever. I set up, if I'm using a Floyd, I have a way that I set it up. I understand the tension, and I can pretty much, I'm pretty good at hitting the note. But what was the second half of the question? You were asking about?
Just asking, if you're nervous and how you were able to stay in the groove that well. And so you talked about it. Maybe you did find the one spot on stage.
Nervous? No. When I'm nervous, when I'm in Guitar Center trying a guitar, that's when I'm nervous. And everybody kind of tuning in. What's this guy got? But put me in front of any size crowd, and I am not nervous. I'm like, bring it on. That's not even a thing. I haven't been nervous since the high school talent show. That's my challenge. It's like a street fight. If you're nervous, you're probably gonna lose, you know. So you better go out there with the confidence, you know, like, I'm gonna show you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of tours that might very well make some people nervous, you guys toured with Van Halen on the Balance tour.
Yeah.
It's so, for starters, I'm super jealous, but I'm going to let that go. And I want to ask, what was it like for you to be able to see Eddie do his thing day in, day out?
I mean, it was incredible. That's the answer you would expect. And that's really the, you could probably ask anybody that's been on tour with Van Halen. It was incredible. Not only watching him every night, but seeing him walk around backstage, you know, carrying his guitar, going, you know, he would, you know, if he was bored, he always had the guitar. So if he was bored, he'd come down to our dressing room and he'd walk in and he'd be like, "What are you guys doing, man?" You know, and just, you'd be sitting on the couch and he'd be standing in front of you with the guitar, you know, doing that butterfly thing, picking thing he did. And you're like trying to talk and you're like just blown away. So really, really crazy. You know, Eddie Van Halen is standing in front of me with his guitar, you know, or just seeing him in the hallway backstage. And then the show, you know, going out and watching the show from the photo pit and watching him do his solo. It was just really, you know, I realized what a gift it was to be there when we were there. And then looking back on it now, even more so, especially now that he's not here anymore, he'll always be here. He will always be here. But it was really just an honor to be out there and you know, get to share a stage with them.
That is so cool. What are some other tours that stand out in your mind over the years?
Aerosmith, we did an Aerosmith tour in it's like 1990, I think. It's like 6 months, I think. Or so, you know, it's a long tour. And just, you know, seeing those guys in the hallway and talking shop with Brad and Joe, you know, wow, really cool. Brad's like, "Check this out. I just got this cool gold top, and you know, you want to play it?" And I was like, "Wow, so cool." You know, our first big tour was with Bon Jovi. We learned a lot about performing in front of a large audience. I can remember Richie Sambora saying, "You got to play to the people in the last row. Those are the people you have to project to." And that stuck with me. And whoever's listening now, that should stick with them. Whether you're in a club, you got to play to the people in the back. What I'm saying is you have to project your energy to the people in the back. This way, the whole room feels it. Not just, you know, it's of course you look at the people right in front of you, but you have to put your energy out there. That was a great piece of advice from a band that was really a great live band to watch every night as a young guy. Oh man, you know, we had Pantera out with us on our Slave to the Grind tour, so that was pure debauchery every night. During the show, after the show, backstage, on the bus, it was a party. And Dimebag was incredible every night, on his game, just didn't even have to think about it, just did it. You know, it's like, of course he put effort into it. He had pride in his playing, but he made it look so effortless.
Yeah.
And all the best guys do that. And but he was really into talking shop and talking about playing, and it was a lot of fun. It was really a lot.
And love to celebrate his influences too. You know, he was so excited talking about Ace Frehley or Eddie or Randy Rhoads or whoever it happened to be. And just a great spirit.
And he was so creative in every way, not just music, but you know, his video editing and video shooting and just creativity. You know, oh, we're making paper mache joints today and pot leaves and that kind of stuff. You know, he was a great guy.
talk about what you guys are up to these days. So you've been doing some recording with Nick Raskulinecz, and I'm a huge fan of that guy.
Oh yeah.
Talk about how he likes to get guitar sounds and guitar parts in the studio. What's it like on a typical day working with him?
It's fun. It's fun. It's like playing with your biggest fan in the room, because he's not like sit there and I'm going to analyze this and then give you my ideas. He's like, dude, that's fucking awesome. Do that. Pick slide. You're playing a song and he's very animated. He's got drumsticks and he's playing air drums and he's like conducting and doing all this stuff, and it's fun, and his energy comes off and rubs off on us, and his enthusiasm and his ideas just pour out. Like he'll propose an idea, we'll play it as a band, and by the time we're done to like discuss it, he's already got another idea he's throwing at us. He's throwing ideas faster than we can play them. And he makes it fun, and he's just a rock fan. It's really cool. It's really cool. I love working with him.
Yeah, he is a huge fan, but he's also like a rock historian. He knows everything that went down on every record that he's ever loved, and it's inspiring to me.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And you talk about getting guitar sounds and things like that. There was a Bogner in the studio that I liked, so he set that up, and it sounded good, so I didn't feel a need to go tweak it. He heard something, he went and made some tweaks, and I was in the control room. I'm like, sounds good to me, let's go. It's not like sitting there for 2 days, plugging in EQs and plugging in everything else, compressors and outboard gear and all that stuff. It's like just for our basics, I used a Bogner Ecstasy, and it's like a 71 Marshall, I think, and that was my sound. Yeah,
that's a sweet rig. That's good. And it's funny because my understanding is he does move fast with it, but you could spend weeks because he's got a massive collection, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like he could always pull out some just bizarre, like here's a Sun amp, or whatever, and it's like, okay.
I mean, a bunch of amps there. When we went in to do pre-production, I just grabbed that Bogner and put it up on a cabinet, and I wanted to hear what it sounded like, and next thing I know, we were off and running. So like,
there you go.
Yeah.
If it sounds good, it is good.
If I can get what I need out of it, I don't need to see what else is there. Find something better. You can do that all day. Those amps are heavy. I don't want to pick them up.
No, hey, we had that discussion before about the Riveras, man. My chiropractor wants me to go back to using like a full stack, because it's good for him. Where are you guys at with the recording right now? Where are you in the recording process?
We are actually, I'm leaving tomorrow to go back to Nashville. I'm in Los Angeles right now. I'm going to Nashville tomorrow and meet up with Snake, and we got 2 more songs. We're gonna lay down guitars on those, put some solos, put some rhythms, and a couple overdubs on some other stuff. We'll be there about 4 days doing that, and I'm totally looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. So we're laying down the stuff on that. We'll have to get vocals on those. We have to do some background vocals, some overdubs, and just kind of the bulk of the record is done. Okay,
so now we'll get to the EverTune part of this. And Nick, he is a big EverTune guy, and it's just a great fan of the product, and he has done a lot of great stuff for us. And when we were doing the installs for you and Snake, I remember telling you, like, you either bring EverTune equipped guitars or Nick's going to make you play his, So refresh my memory. What are the guitars that we installed bridges on for you and Snake?
Snake and I both got Epiphone Les Pauls. I think he got the 60s version. I think I got the 50s version. He likes a little thinner neck. I like a little fatter neck. And we swapped out pickups for bridge pickups for whatever we were interested in, and you put the EverTunes in those, and we cut all our rhythm tracks on those together, and we doubled them, and they stayed in tune. Yes.
And so was this your first time tracking with an EverTune guitar?
Yes, and it's a gift from the gods, because you lose so much creativity stopping, tuning. Like, anybody that hasn't been in a studio making a record does not understand that what sounds in tune in your home studio, when you get in the studio, you're with a producer and they got the ears and you're really, really tuning into stuff and listening hard, everything counts. Everything counts. And when you start layering guitars and there's a little bit of pitch difference and all that, you start getting phasing issues and all this crap, or it just sounds like shit one way or another. So this is just, it really is just speeds up the whole process, keeps the creativity flowing.
Yeah, it does. And it saves you the crushing heartache of killing a part and listening back and realizing it's just not quite in tune, even if the timing is spot on.
Yeah, yeah. And there's also times where you go in to do your guitar track and you realize the guy that did, you know, maybe Snake did his the day before, and you do yours, and it's like something's not in tune. And yeah, well, I'm in tune. He wasn't in tune, because he might have been in tune with himself, but he's not in tune with, or, you know, there's a million variables involved. But the fact is, it's got to be right there in the center. So, and also on this record, Snake and I cut guitars together at the same time, which is really, really cool. Very old school way of doing it. Which is, if you listen to a Skid Row record, my guitar will be on the right and Snake's guitar will be on the left, as if you were looking at the stage. And he stood in front of the left speaker and I stood in front of the right speaker, and we panned the guitars and did our thing. It's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've talked to Nick about that too, where we talked about the EverTune guitars can be so in tune that some people, like Steve Stevens, he actually physically detunes his EverTune guitars to do the double because he wants to get a little bit of that sway between the two tracks.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned that to Nick, and he's going, yeah, and he says, I understand that. I don't really worry about that. But he says, you know what's really cool is when you have two guitarists tracking with EverTune guitars, the guitars are perfectly in tune, but the guitarists are never going to be so perfectly in line that it can have that sort of suffocating thing. He goes, it gives you all the space you need for this kind of thing. And so it sounds to me like he applied that ethos to the recording of this record.
Yeah, and you know, it also depends how you set it up. If you set it to bend mode, you know, you can like, I like to grab a chord and pull on it a little bit, you know, vibrato on there and all that. So you can, there are circumstances where you can grab the strings too hard and make it sound bad, make it sound sour, you know.
It is possible.
Or if you want, you know, you can have control over your vibrato and things like that, or play solos. Depends what you want to do. Depends what you want to do. But I can imagine these bands that tune down low. It's just got to be, because recording low tuned guitars is a fucking nightmare.
It's so difficult to do. And those were some of the early adopters of this technology, because they were so tired of that pitch jump that occurs when you hit a detuned low string too hard. And so they lost their minds for this, but now what they're doing is they're all on us to get the bass bridge done, because now they feel like their bass player is out of tune.
I was
like, okay, we'll get there, you know, it's coming.
Our bass player, Rachel Bowen, he was like, oh my God, did they make this for the bass? And I'm like, as far as I know, it's on the, you know, it's on the drawing board, but
it's coming. Yeah, it's beyond the drawing board, but it's going to be a minute before it sees the world. But it's going to be amazing when it happens. And yeah, if Rachel's got one of those Spectre basses rattling around that he wants an EverTune bridge on, you talk to me. Yep.
Oh, that's you'll be hearing from him.
Now that's great. That is awesome. All right. Well, so what else? Like, when you're not doing Skid Row, what do you like to do? How do you occupy your time?
Well, I have a 10-year-old son, so he occupies a good amount of my time. And I ride my bicycle a lot. You know, I go on long bike rides. I'm like way into it. I go up in the Santa Monica Mountains and go on the fire roads and all that. So on days when I ride, that'll take 3 or 4 hours out of my day. So, and that's a couple times a week. And then I keep looking over here because there's a bicycle right here. And
Okay.
and then I work on music at home. I record my own stuff. I haven't released anything, but I do make music at home and write songs and do that whole thing. It's not really like Skid Row type of music, more, I don't know, more bluesy, funky. I like to play acoustic guitars and Strats and Tellys. And, you know, I'm very fond of Les Pauls. So yeah, that's pretty much fills up most of my time.
It sounds like it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know as well as anybody that rock and roll is a cruel business. And so how does it feel to still be thriving and kicking ass after all this time?
I tell everybody this. I am grateful. I'm grateful every time I leave the house with my guitar to go play it somewhere. I mean, I know how hard it is to get in the business. And it's just as hard to maintain a career in the business. So to still be doing this after 30 years, I'm grateful, really. I don't know what else I'd be doing. And, you know, I don't know what I did to deserve it or any of that, but I'm here to say thanks and I'm grateful.
Well, what a great answer. And yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us here on EverTune TV. Again, I feel like I know you. Now I do, you know, so it's great to meet you finally.
Dude, I'm all about the EverTune. I'm flying the flag. I tell anybody who will listen, you know, I'll walk up to the lady in the supermarket saying, have you heard about the EverTune bridge?
Have you tried it yet? You know, that's great. We appreciate that very much.
What's that, bud?
Whatever you need, you know where you can find us. We're really happy to have you guys in the EverTune family, and I can't wait to hear the record. Again, I'm sure it's going to be great, so keep us posted on that. And other than that, I will let you get to your bike ride or hang with your kid or whatever else you got going today. But best of luck in Nashville, and thank you once again for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.